time. Every time. Every time.
Everybody back up!
When the only constant in life is change, you need to be ready. This is the Man-Made Survival Show.
Hello everyone, my name is Jose Prado with Man-Made Survival. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel and watching this video. Please like this video, leave your comment, and subscribe to the channel so more people can get the information that I'm going to be talking about today. So please share with your friends and family so you can go ahead and start the conversation with those in your family or in your group that still don't believe or still don't want to prepare, or they're on the fence about it because to them they still haven't seen enough evidence. And hopefully with what I'm going to be talking about today is going to help them make the decision to start preparing, because the window of opportunity is closing. And it's something that I have talked about ever since the beginning of the pandemic, right? Back in January and February, I talked about people needing to prepare because the window of opportunity was closing on them, right? And as we saw shortages and other things throughout the pandemic, I warned that window's closing, and I'm saying the same warning now. All right, so let's go back for a second, back to January and February when I was talking about people needing to prepare because it hadn't still hit the United States yet, right? We hadn't had any confirmed cases. And I think at the time we only had like 5, maybe 10, something like that. And I told people, if you wait for the last second to prepare, you're going to find that there's going to be shortages of things and you're going to pay more money, which is something that people learn the very hard way. All right, because states like New York, Washington, and California, they did not prepare. The people there did not prepare until it was too late, right? That's when we saw the panic buying. And then everyone was trying to go for the same item. And some of the items that ran out was the water and the toilet paper and the Purell, all the Clorox wipes and everything, right? So that was a hard lesson for them to learn, that if they didn't have the things that they needed before a crisis, the chances were that they were not going to get it. Right? Now, for the people who did not have the chance to get any of it, and they ventured out and they tried to go around and try to find the same items they thought that they needed, then they found out that they were going to have to pay a bigger premium for the same items that they could have gotten very cheap before any crisis happened. For example, the Purell. Purell in some stores in New York was being sold for $100, right? And people were buying them. The places that were selling it for $100, they sold out of it, right? But now, instead of you buying 50 bottles with the same $100, now you only bought one because you waited to the last second. That is why it's important to prepare before anything happens. Not wait until right before the doors are closed, right? And the limits are setting, which is something else that happened. After everything got bought out from Sam's Club and from Walmart, from Costco and places like that, what they started doing is that they placed limits on how much you can buy of that item. For a long time, the bottled water at Sam's, there was only a limit of 1 per customer. And as time went by, they started increasing the limit until there's no limit at all. But the point is that you don't need to wait for the last second, right? We're going on the second wave of the pandemic, a second wave of lockdowns, a second wave of people freaking out. And if you have not taken the steps for you to prepare, then you need to do so now. All right, so the same thing applies to weapons and ammo, to AR-15s, to the ammo for the AR-15s, which could be 223 or 5.56, depending on what AR-15 you have. And I'm gonna tell you something that happened to me yesterday. So I called some of the regular places, to order some ammo. and it was just to add to the stock that I already have. So it's not like I was in desperate need of it. However, when I called the place that I usually call, and the person who answered the phone, I asked, right, if they had any 223 or 556 that they were having for sale, and they said that they didn't. And then I asked when were they gonna have some, and they say not until September. So of course, when he said September, my mouth dropped to the ground and my eyes popped out, and I said, September? Are you sure? He said, yeah. And I said, tell you what, let me go ahead and place an order now, so when September comes around, I can just come and pick it up. And he said he couldn't do that because he didn't know whether the feds were going to buy the rest of it from the manufacturers because of another wave of protests and whatnot, right? So the point is that even the seller couldn't get their hands on it. So if I was in desperate need of it, right? Let's say that I had just bought an AR-15, but I had no ammo for it, then I'm out of luck. And of course, that's not the only store I tried. I tried the big box stores such as Bass Pro Shops. I have tried Academy. I have tried local gun shops and pawn shops, and none of them have any of the ammo that I need. All right, so that happened, and it might be up until September for people to get, people in my area who has not prepared, and they're trying for the last minute to prepare. Then they're gonna have to wait until then to see if maybe there's any around. All right, so now another thing that also happened is that 2 towns over from where I live, there was the possibility of riots when the Black Lives Matter first started rioting out in the streets. And somebody called me up and they asked me to go ahead and come and get their place ready, right, to get them secured. And one of the things they asked me to do is to bring them some ammo, 5.56 or 2.23. So when I went to the store and, I found out they had all sold out, I let them know. Of course, they were mad because they thought that their dollars could buy whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted. But that just wasn't the case. And they had to settle for a different type of bullet for the different type of gun that they got. So that's why it's important, again, to have what you need before a major thing happens. Now, this thing with Black Lives Matter, Antifa, you name it, the NFAC, things are starting to escalate, which is going to meet my topic today. The possibility of civil war breaking out very, very soon, because now people have brought guns into the equation, which is something very dangerous for them to do, because everything has just gone up a notch, right? Everything started when George Floyd got killed by the police, and that was murder, all right? When he got killed by the police, the day that people started protesting during the day, at nighttime, that's when we saw the rioting, the stores being looted. We saw the places going up in flames, right? And then that escalated to where Seattle had an autonomous zone. And that, of course, that got disbanded because it didn't matter to the government until it happened to them, right? And then what we saw later in the past few weeks is that they're starting throwing fireworks at the police, with BBs inside of it. So essentially it's shrapnel. And pretty much it's a homemade bomb because now the ATF is looking into the matter and looking to see why or who did it. Of course, they were trying to hurt the police as much as they could, right? They're throwing frozen bottles, they're throwing rocks, they're throwing Molotov cocktails. So all of this has escalated in violence, which is something that you must prepare for, all right? Now, they have brought guns into the equation, and that gives it a whole new level of danger because now people are dying. People weren't dying in the streets while protesting and doing all the things that they were doing to the police, and the police shooting rubber bullets back and everything. No one was dying until people introduced guns to it. We saw Antifa do it. We have seen Black Lives Matter do it, and one person from Black Lives Matter has died. All right, so the first headline that I have for you is this: I need to buy a firearm. Radio host who defended peaceful protesters has apartment destroyed by rioters. This from Sirhedge. All right, and I'm just gonna show you the tweets that this man made, because at first he was defending the protesters, right? Trump tweeted this: Seattle mayor says about the anarchist takeover of her city. It's a summer of love. These liberal dams don't have a clue. The terrorists burn and pillage her cities, and they think it's just wonderful. Even the death must end this Seattle takeover now. So Paul Gallant, he replied, walked through it last night out of curiosity and saw no burning, no pillaging, no deaths. Chill, dog. So that's what he replied. And then later on, he showed this video on Twitter. All right. It says, came home to my apartment complex. The Starbucks underneath has been destroyed, and cops are telling us to stay away in case something explosive is inside. So of course he's gonna change his mind, right, of what on the whole thing that now he's experiencing in his own apartment complex. I feel like I need to buy a firearm because clearly this is going to keep happening. Enough is enough. It looks like a block party down the street from me. Really angry right now. And he replied to himself, unrelated, there's a fire a few blocks from me, which had me freaked out when I saw it from the highway. Zero clue what's going on, but the cat and I are getting the F out. And of course, he also posted pictures of the aftermath of the riots, and he put on there, great job, buttholes. All right, so the point of all of this is that people are always in denial until it happens to them. All right, so within the last 48 hours, there has been eruptions of violence in major cities such as Seattle, Portland, Atlanta, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, Oakland, Louisville, Austin, Richmond, and Aurora, Colorado. So like I said, just like people at the beginning of the pandemic who waited till the last second to prepare, and then they were in there with everyone and their mother trying to get the last few items on the shelf that they thought that they needed, right? They find out that, one, they ran out, they didn't have any. If they drove around and found it, they're going to pay a higher price. And then even if they did find it and paid a higher price, they could only buy so much of it. So it doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank. When you have restrictions or the things run out, your dollar is not good. All right, that's why you must prepare before everything happens. Now, also in Louisville, the NFAC went, right? And they went out there and they did the demonstration. Now, I'm going to show you a video of what the leader of the NFAC told the other militias. Here it is.
Look at what the you did. You made blacks come out. I don't see no white militia. So to the boogie boys, the 3%ers, and all the rest of you scared ass rednecks, we here. Where the f you at? We in your house. Let's go. NFAC, mother.
All right, so you heard him. He challenged the militia to come out, but they did come out. They came to Louisville when they came to demonstrate. All right, so once they were there, something happened. I'm going to show you a video of what they had said while they were there, when they gave a speech. Here it is.
2 o'clock. I don't know who the fuck you are, but you about to get shot. We hope we wouldn't have to shoot nobody. We hope we wasn't going to have to make our own citizens arrest of those cops. Because I think we got enough people to do it. Ain't that what they were trying to do to Ahmaud Arbery? Did they say they was doing a citizen's arrest? So we figured we go and arrest them. And then when they come ask us where they at, we got them. Well, can we get them back? You got to bail them out with a loot. But we ain't going to pay for them, but then you won't get them back. We just going to keep them. 4 weeks from today, we going to come back here and we should have an answer. Right? If not, I need y'all to repeat after me. If we don't get the truth, the whole truth, and the motherfucking truth, we are going to burn this motherfucker down. NFAC, Red Nation, make some noise out this bitch.
So what do you think about what he said? All right, so let's talk about that for a second, because what he said is very significant. All right, for one, he said that they didn't want to shoot anybody, but if they had to, they would, right? And that they would do their own citizens arrest on the police. And once they had them in custody, that the U.S. government would have to pay in order to bail them out. All right, and of course, that would never happen. They would be treated as terrorists. But the point is that they're trying to establish their own rules, their own justice system, right? Because they feel like they're oppressed, whatever. The point is that it's happening, all right? Or they're talking about it. It hasn't happened yet, but chances are that it would happen. Now, he did threat that if they didn't get the truth within that amount of time, that they were going to come back and burn it down, all right? But something else happened while they were there. Here's the headline. Black militia member accidentally shoots his comrades during face-off with 3%ers in Louisville as leaders demand the truth about Breonna Taylor's death in 4 weeks or will burn this mother effer down. This from Daily Mail. All right, so somebody in the NFAC, they shot their friend accidentally. They accidentally discharged the weapon. Now, what would have happened if that bullet that they accidentally discharged hit one of the 3%ers? What would have happened? Chances are that the 3%ers would have returned fire. A firefight would have broke out right there and then. Since there were so many of the NFAC, I think it was 1,000. I'm not 100% sure at this moment. And only 53%ers. Chances are that the 3%ers would have all been killed, and the NFAC would have suffered massive casualties, because nobody was taking any type of strategic cover, or anything like that. Everybody was standing around watching them go by, and if that would have happened, it would have. If the bullet that accidentally came out that was discharged hit a 3%er, chances are that they would have returned fire. All right, now I'm gonna turn it around and say, what if one of the 3%ers accidentally discharged the weapon and they hit one of the NFAC members? All right, at the heat of the moment, no one is gonna know that it was an accident. All they know is that somebody fired a shot and they have to respond, because the NFAC do have orders not to fire unless they're fired upon. All right, so if somebody would have been hit, they would have taken that as they being fired, even though it was an accident, and a firefight would have broke out right there. See, that's why adding guns to the equation is very dangerous. All right, now somebody from the Black Lives Matter protest in Austin, Texas, found out the hard way, and very sadly, they lost their lives. Here's that video on that.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Zagona. A man named Garrett Foster, a Black Lives Matter supporter, was shot and killed after when he opened fire on a vehicle. So let me show you that footage. So here's the footage. Now the car that apparently drove through the crowd was right here. And they were saying the guy was speeding through the crowd, which was a lie. So there's the Black Lives Matter guy firing. And that was the guy in the car firing back, in which he killed the shooter, by the way. Okay, now, so here is the clip that the news won't show you. Now, the car did not plow through the crowd. You're going to see the car coming up over here, and it's turning slowly, by the way. So I'm going to show you the whole thing. So this car will be turning pretty quickly, then the people got in front of the car. But notice how, okay, here's the car right here. It's turning. Then the people started to rush the car, because that's what liberals do. There was gunfire from the Black Lives Matter supporter. Then the person in the car fired back, killing the guy. So that's what happened, ladies and gentlemen. So with that said, my name's Seagal. Subscribe, like my videos. The news is basically dwarfing everything, ladies and gentlemen. And with that said, have a good one. Let's watch this one more time. Wow. And he shot him a point back range, by the way. So, I guess none of the Black Lives Matter protesters came to his aid. And with that said...
All right, so as I've said, those escalations are growing. Now people are actually dying. All right. It wasn't the militias who are shooting at each other. It's the citizens that may not have as much training as the militias do. Right. You can say that the person who brought an AK-47 to a protest and shot five shots at the car, you know, reportedly not killing anyone, but when the car or the driver, whoever it was in the car, returned fire, they did kill the protester. Okay, so that's the element that I'm talking about, that it makes it a lot more dangerous, because people are going to start to get pissed at the fact that somebody in their protest died, or that their citizens died. All right, what if, let's say that the Black Lives Matter protester was successful at killing the person in the car? The headlines would have come out. That would have been shown all over the news. People's sentiment would have grown in anger, and people would have started to feel the need for revenge. If they see people in their own backyard that has Black Lives Matter or any other type of protest with Antifa, or maybe even the NFAC, you know, who knows? But what I'm saying is that people will start to get angry, and they're going to feel the need to be in a fight. That's why this is getting dangerous. That's why you must prepare. Your window of opportunity is closing on this one, because guns and ammo everywhere is gone. And the ones that are left, you're paying a higher premium for them, because weapons that used to cost $500-$600 now are costing about $1,000-$1,500. So you are paying a lot more by waiting than you would have by preparing beforehand. All right. So the next thing that I'm going to read to you happened, and it should really concern you. All right. Here it is. Federal agents wearing gas masks arrest 2 female BLM Portland protesters, leaving one with a bloody nose, and the cops discover a bag filled with loaded rifle magazines and Molotov cocktails during the city's 60th night of unrest. This from the Daily Mail. All right, so pretty much the police were responding to not only the riots and the things that are going on in Portland because of the police or the federal officers being there, but also people who called at the local park that was, I think, across the courthouse, that someone got shot. And when they went out there, that's when they discovered the weapons, and they discovered the Molotov cocktails. Right? You're seeing a picture of that right now. So if you are in any of the cities that I mentioned, okay, you really have to consider getting out of there. Now, we're going to talk about the preparedness for just a second. All right, it's not going to be too much in detail because there's only limited things that you can do. It depends on the budget. And as far as the economy is right now, things are not looking very good. All right, so we're going to take the route of, if you're in any of the cities that I mentioned, which I'm going to read again. If you're anywhere in Seattle, Portland, Atlanta, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, Oakland, Louisville, Austin, Richmond, and Aurora, then you need to try your best to get out of there. All right. Let's go with the route of, you don't have any money. You know, you do want to get out, but you just don't have any money or anywhere to go. All right. If you must stay in the city while all of this is going down, and hopefully everything blows over, because a lot of people do have the hope that all this is going to stop eventually, and then everything's going to go back to pre-pandemic, you know, things, which I highly doubt, because it's a election year and things can get a lot more heated here in the next few months. So we're still looking at a very dark time ahead of us. All right. So let's say you had to stay, you have no savings, you have been out of a job. Now the government's help has run out. No more $600, right? Your city has run out of money, so they cannot give you unemployment, or they can't give you food stamps. The best thing for you to do is just to stay inside as much as you can and don't go anywhere. Do not participate in the protest, even if you agree with them, and especially if you disagree with them, right? Because it's going to be 100 to 1. You just stay inside, lock the doors, and wait for all that to blow over. Make sure you have your food, your water in place, your firearms to protect yourself. Because if you don't, it's going to force you to venture out to get food and water, you know, your groceries. And if you don't have protection, people try to get into your apartment building or into your own apartment, then you're going to have to defend that at all costs. Because now they're going inside and they could do a lot of things to you. You know, like that person, that radio host, let's say he was home when all that was going on. What would have he done knowing that all that was going on underneath him? Let's say they set the building on fire. Would he have been able to escape? Chances are that yes, he would have. But the fact that it's that dangerous and he feels the need of buying a gun, you know, in Seattle, that tells a lot on how people are starting to think. All right? So stay inside. Don't go anywhere. Do not participate. And just wait for all that to blow over. Now, if you do have the money, then you need to find a place to go. Especially if it's in the rural areas, then you need to go there. Or if you don't have money to buy a new place, then the best thing you can do is try to arrange something with a loved one that lives out in the rural area or outside those cities that I'm talking about, right? And the reason you have to plan to be in a place that is not very populated is because of the next headline that I have for you. Here it is. New Jersey gym owner accused governor of flexing his little tire muscles after being arrested for contempt. All right, I have a small video for that. Here it is.
In other news, the owners of a Camden County gym are now facing charges after repeatedly defying Governor Murphy's shutdown order. Ian Smith and Frank Trombetti, the owners of the Attilis Gym in Belmar, were arrested this morning and released. On Friday, a judge issued a contempt order against them, ordering them to vacate the gym and to cease operations. Now, over the weekend, authorities say a number of people were seen entering and using that gym.
The reason I wanted to show you that video is because people forgot that there was protests going on in 29 states, not cities, in 29 states across the country, because people were starting to protest the fact that that everyone was locked at home, nobody could open their business, and all of this, right? People were losing their businesses, people weren't getting paid, they were staying at home, and all of that. That only went away because of the protests for the Black Lives Matter. On this second round of lockdowns that we're going to experience, because places are starting to lock down, you know, they're restricting people on how much they can work, you know, how many people can be in a building. The rest of those who are unemployed, they're going to be home, and they're going to lose now they're losing their wages because the government has run out of money. Also, people are going to be evicted, which is going to cause anger as well, right? So when those people have nothing else to lose, they're going to lose it all, right? They're going to lose their mind, and then they're going to go again against the government. So that's where the whole triangle thing that I have explained in previous podcasts about the possibility of civil war, which a lot of people didn't agree with me, now has become a reality. So the triangle that I talk about is that there's three sides to all of this. One can be that the left and the right go at it, right? For example, NFAC and the 3%ers. Let's say they go at it and they start killing each other. There's actually a fighting civil war out there. The third part of that, it could be the government stepping in without any kind of agenda. They actually do want it to stop, and they, you know, put down both militias. You know, they make them stop fighting. The other side of that, it could be that if the government does have an agenda, they can side with either side, and then they would defeat the others, you know, the opposing side, and then they win. And the final one that I see happening is that the government lets them kill each other, and whoever is left standing, then they take them over and they defeat them, right? That's what could happen. Oh, you know, and I just thought about one. What if both sides, the left and the right, go hand in hand and they go against the government? Now that could be interesting, right? Because now they have a common enemy. Anyways, the point is that it could escalate to that point. When people start losing their house, they're no longer getting government help. When all these restrictions is what's causing the economy to tank. Because if they were to lift every restriction that they had, no more 6 feet apart, no how many people in a building, none of that BS, then everybody can go back to work normal, and all of this would probably stop in the next few months, right? That's just wishful thinking on my part, probably. But the point is that could happen. So are we going to see protests about the economy against governors and, mayors and everybody, while at the same time other groups are fighting because of the police brutality and all of that, and the federal police being at the courthouses and stuff? Possibility of both going on. Can they go at each other's throat? Yes, because now they're bringing guns to the equation and people are dying. All right? So prepare. Make sure you have everything that you need in place right now. Talk to a sibling that's outside of the city so you can make sure you have a place for you and your family to go to. And if they do agree to help you out and house you there, then you need to bring your own food and your own water. That way you don't become a burden, all right, until all of this blows over. But more than likely, it's going to take months, probably all the way until January, maybe even February. Because if Trump wins, the left is going to be even more pissed, right? They're going to say that he cheated or whatever. And then if Trump loses, they're talking about Trump not wanting to take the defeat and he might not leave the White House, which is something Nancy Pelosi said, that they would just get him out of there, which of course could potentially piss off the right. And then there you go, you have a fight. So it looks like in November, it doesn't matter what happens, violence might be the common thing going on. The bottom line. The bottom line could be that violence is so great that the UN might have to step in. What happens if the UN has to step in? Because there's a lot of things going on in Portland and other places that the violence has escalated to that point that they feel like they have to intervene. Because the UN lately has come out and say to Trump that he has no right to put the federal police in front of the buildings protecting federal property. Now, first off, just thinking about it is, what the heck do you have to do with any of that, right? But of course, they meddle into everything. And since their headquarters are in New York, I mean, why not, right? So that's another thing that could potentially happen. But what we are seeing right now is that people are bringing guns into the equation. People are going to start dropping like flies in the streets. And both sides are going to become even more angry, more passionate. And things can be a lot worse than we have seen in the past few weeks. All right, so the next few months look pretty grim. All right, and then on top of the economy, on top of everything else that we've seen with China, with Russia, which is something that we're going to be talking about in the next few videos. So I encourage you to come back. Please share this information with your friends and family. Please visit the store, MenMenSurvivalStore.com, and get the stuff that you're going to need in order for you to survive everything that's going on. Again, I want to remind you about my book, Preppers Secrete Cache. You can go to www.PreppersSecretCache.com or just click the link below and order it from there, because it's going to give you all the things that you're going to need in order for you to be able to stock up on the things that are going to help you survive. All right? So again, my name is Jose Prado, and remember, always ready.
The Man-Made Survival Show.